Today we're gonna present you, I hope, quite innovative attempt to research, to measure how players of the FIFA gameplay 2018 behave, how they react, what they see during the game when they are fully engaged to win the game. We try to combine 4 measurements: eye tracking, ECG, EDA, GSR, and face tracking. So let's begin.
So a very serious scientific question to begin with. Do you play video games? Not at all. Neither do we, of course. To start with, this information is important, I think, that esports branch of business is really growing. It's kind of important phenomenon not only for business but also for social researchers. We know that the esports market, so playing sports using new technologies via internet, for example, and also watching other people doing it, it's called esports or esports. We know that it raised 1.5 billion revenue last year, and in Poland we know that 42% of Polish people play video games, not professionally, hopefully, but as an amateur. So it's a really big question also for us. You can see on this chart the overview on the esports market in Poland. You see the age of professional players. It's quite young people, but not only. Every 4th player is a woman, which is kind of difficult stuff for my male colleagues in my laboratory, of course. And as you can see, income and number of recipients as well is growing, constantly growing. So it's important. And based on that knowledge, that observations, we came to the question that we should understand this gaming experience. What is it? How is it happening that people really playing so much and it's so entertaining, so immersive, so engrossing? So we don't know how to answer this question, of course, not yet, but we thought that using biometric methods allow us to deconstruct the stimulation of a player who is focused and deeply involved in the game. And we chose the FIFA 18 as a stimulus, not because we love playing it, of course, but because it's one of the most popular video games, and it provides us the really high immersion leading to kind of isolation. And we saw it during our experiment as well. What's more, it also gives us a really high level of competitiveness, which is important in our measurements. We started digging in the lid on the subject, and it turned out that no one else has ever done anything like this before, except for one counter-media study triangulating these 3 methods: GSR, eye tracking and face tracking, but we don't know much about the methodology of its study, so it's quite flu. But of course, biometric methods have been used in analysis of how people play, but in specific fragmentary contexts, like for example the medical ones with the obesity and arousal, for example, or the autism disorders, etc. Also in researchers related to memory or cognitive motor tasks, for example, but we haven't found anything like this widely analyzing this kind of stuff. So we set up 3 basic project assumptions. First of all, we checked the physiological reactions of FIFA players during key parts of the game, because we treat the match, the soccer match, or this kind of game as a kind of narrative, as a kind of story. And we argue that some key parts of this game make the dynamics happen. So, for example, the goal, of course, the goal celebration, the red card, the yellow card, the penalty, all these moments are really interested in terms of players' reactions. Secondly, we triangulate various biometric methods with the use of all devices, not one, because we believe that all these
At the same time.
Oh, of course, integrated on one timeline, because we believe that all these devices can give us more precise, more accurate result than one of them. We will talk about these devices later on. And last but not least, we resign declarative methods. It's tough for us because we like declarative methods, but we wanted to keep it as clean as possible, if we can take this like that. Research questions we set up, four big research questions. First of all, do certain elements of the game arouse greater engagement of the players than others? So we have this specific key parts of the game, and are they differ between them? Secondly, can we determine the model reactions of non-professional players to specific situations happening during the game? So we're looking for some kind of model like social sciences, but we're not there yet. Is it possible to create players' profiles by the way they look at the screen or engage in the specific moments of the game? A question important also for the esport business, I think. And what kind of biometric differences can we distinct comparing professional and non-professional FIFA players, which is also probably interesting for the esport business. The respondents we recruited for this step, this level of our study, were male amateur players. What does it mean, amateur? It means that they know FIFA, they play FIFA, but not for money, just for fun from time to time. So they know how to use PlayStation or Xbox, of course. Come on. but they don't play so much.
Oh, they do. Oh, they do.
It depends on the age group, okay? And
No, I know.
we have 3 age groups. The teenagers between 12 and 16 years old, students between 19 and 25 years old, and adults. It's a wide range of this group, from 27 to 40 years old. We made 66 measurements in total, but we analyzed 58 of them, because we were not interested in matches that ended in draw. So when both players or both teams scored the same number of goals. We wanted winners or losers. Okay, so that's we have taken into consideration only 58 of this measurement. And of course, our wish, our dream is to compare our result with the professional esports players, which we planned, of course. We used iMotion software and hardware also. So we chose the facial expressions, we used Affectiva, eye tracking with SMI Red 500, ECG and GSR, and about these tools Tomasz will tell more. Okay.
Right, so maybe as a quite piece of information about the procedure. We made a tournament in the Swiss Formula. Players were playing on PlayStation and also on the Xbox in front of 55-inch screen. The experience conducted at the beginning of the year. Sometime we have to take to organize all the experiments. One measurement duration was taking around 15-16 minutes. What is more, some players were playing several times because of the tournament formula, of course. So, if we are talking about the tools, we use GSR shimmer on the foot, on the toes, because the hands have to be clean, because they hold the pads. As you can see here, yeah. We have ECG electrodes from Be Alert that were installed in the chest to measure, because our experience is that shimmer ear clips is not so effective like ECG electrodes. We set up also the eye tracking 500 SMI red. After that, we got a camera with the proper lighting, LED lighting above the heads to increase the accuracy of the face tracking, face diamond mask that Patera used to recognize the movement of the muscles on the face and to then deconstruct with the algorithm what kind of emotions our respondent feel. We got also tournament atmosphere with the pizza, with the breaks, with option to talk. So that how it looks like the main setup in our research. And what about analyzing? It wasn't so easy. Our team counts around 40 people because we had to not only mark the area of interest that we will say something more later on, but also the main events during the game when they occurs. Yeah, when someone was making
So it
foul.
was made manually, like one after one.
Yeah, we have to put it on a timeline. Yeah, and we exported the data from iMotions. As you can see, the iMotions allow us to present live data also, but we weren't use it in this way because we don't want to analyze whole the part of the game, not in this moment, but only the key parts for now. When something occurs, specific one. Yeah, you can see how the iMotions work and how to present the data. We use it the row afterwards. So, going through about the analyzing the data, we got two independent variables that we are taking care about right now. It's about the winner being the participant being a part of the group of winners, of losers. That was the first independent variable, and the second independent variable, very plain, being in a group of the age, teenagers, students, and adults. We exported data from iMotions. It was a quite big files. We have to use R to export the columns and the rows that we are interested in. And after that, we create a matrix that we implemented to the SPSS, and then we work about the statistics, which I will say something more later on. How many events we define during the game? As you can imagine, when someone is, for example, betting on winning, you can bet on everything you want during SCS and this bet click and the games. So there's a plenty of events, of moments of the game. Some of them are more changing, momentums they are, some are not. So we got almost 40 in total, but now we were able to focus only on the 16, oh no, 6, no, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
8.
6. Yeah, 8, but we were measuring not only the guy who was scoring, but the guy who scored their opponent scoring, yeah, the rival, when someone scores in him and he lose the goal, for example. So every of this event was two-sided, yeah. Today we presented statistics of all the events from the red square. However, the data we presented to the data only for goal and goal celebration, what kind of stakes of emotions or GSR peaks we noticed. So, the questions, where does the player look at? And this is a very, very important thing. We got two currencies in this research. The first currency is event. Event, for example, goal. Yeah? And we measure the peaks of the GSR, the way the heart rate beats, and of course how the face tracking is presenting the reaction during the event. The second currency is the area of interest from eye tracking, and it was very specific area of interest that we have to distinguish. We got a ball field during the game. If you know how the camera in the gameplay FIFA 2018 works, it's always centered. Yeah, we were deactivating the area of interest during the corners where there was some or goal celebrations. Yeah, because it wasn't implemented to our area. We got a defense field, attack field. Of course, after the break, we change it. Yeah. Mini map, information about the players who are close to the ball, and then the score. Today we are going to focus on these four areas: ball field, attack field, defense field, and mini map. But of course, statistics will be for the whole area of interest. So this is two types of currencies. Yeah, there is an apple and pin apple. Yeah, so the eye tracking module was separately analyzed. About the face tracking, which of the emotions do the respondents feel during specific events in the game? We've got 7 emotions. Some of you probably work about the Noldus. They are using 6 emotions. There's a differences with treating disgust and contempt. Emotions get 7 emotions, and they are different measuring because in every frame time you can feel in the same time different emotions. Sometimes they can be a contradictive one. So there is a way to work on the data, how to decide in which frame the dominant emotions the most, and how to decide it to bootstrap this measurement. ECG, which events cause the largest differences in the electrical potential caused by myocardial contractions, and we decided to use peaks which are above and below assumed threshold. We just see that our events, which we are research on, present us a greater impact, greater peaks during the moment, and we measured how many peaks the heart was doing above the threshold that we assumed. GSR, which events during the game cause the highest commitment, and the metrics that we can use in the GSR is as well amplitude and of course peaks. For now, we focused on amplitude. The peaks from GSR will be to do, and we compare it between the players and also between the events. And preliminary results. All right, so how the hypothesis we issued. If we think about the independent variables that I have already told you about, we've got the null hypothesis that physiological reaction of FIFA players during key parts of the game don't differ when participants win or lose the game, of course. And the second one, hypothesis null, physiological reaction of FIFA players during key parts of the game don't differ when participants belong to defined age group, with 3 of them. And the main hypothesis was that physiological reactions of FIFA players during key parts of the game differ when participants win or lose the game and belong to defined age group. So we decided to do the 2-way ANOVA to check these 2 factors. All right.
Going on to results, it's thrilling. We start with face tracking. We've done it, like Tomasz said, with 2-way ANOVA, and we obtained results that on the level of the results, so winner or loser, our results are statistically significant in terms of 2 emotions, surprise and fear. When we go to the age groups, we see that they are statistically significant for 4 emotions, so joy, surprise, fear and contempt. But what's the most interesting thing for us, so this mixed level of
cross,
this cross analysis, including both age groups and the winner-loser group, it occurred that we have statistical significance for 5 emotions. So sadness, disgust, joy, fear and contempt. We should exclude surprise and anger. Why? We discussed it why, and based on the quality analysis we made on recordings, we know that anger isn't always anger. It means that our respondents had some kind of ironic fake smile while they were losing the goal, for example. It was like smile, but not really joy, of course. And the same thing with surprise. Surprise also is similar to being focused, and it often goes with the anger also, especially during the goal celebration of your opponents, of course.
Because you know that you can omit the goal celebration, and some guys, they didn't omit it. They want to have a goal celebration to present the dominance of the player that they are game.
So goal celebration, we call it cieszynka in Polish, this moment when this player makes some gestures and smile, and we have the slow motion on it. So when we take a look on something we tentatively call the emotion structure of our respondents during the specific events. There are data for goal in general, not for goal celebrations. We see that adults are similar to students somehow. They have the similar level of, for example, disgust and surprise. Adolescents, on the other hand, are really different. We can say that in general they have the greatest pleasure of the game because they have the lowest level of disgust, for example. So they differ between age groups. And they also differ between winner and loser groups. Yeah? We can see these differences on the level of, first of all, anger, yeah? And on the level of fear. We have fear in the winner group. Yeah? We can think of it why. We think, and we can interpret it from the quality analysis of these recordings, we know that when somebody scores a goal, of course it causes joy, but it also causes fear because we're becoming a leader and we don't want to lose this position. So we are frightened to some extent, of course. When we take a look on the data for goal celebrations in general, in this case we have this adults and teenagers similarity, as you can see. So the level of joy is very similar and the level of anger as well. We have fear in this teenagers group. It's the only one group we have this fear, and we were thinking about it.
This group differs the most from to others.
On every level. We also saw on the recordings that this goal celebrations made by the opponent is really difficult moment for our teenage player, because it's, as you know, you've all been teenagers. It's a moment when opinion of other people really matters. So they were really not in the mood. They didn't feel comfortable when this goal celebration happened. So maybe that's the cause of the fear. And with this winner and losers comparison, also differences in terms of anger, first of all, and also the level of contempt, as you can see. Of course, joy is bigger, larger in the winners group. So we can say that hypothesis for affectiva, our main hypothesis, have been confirmed, because we can say, based on data, that psychological reactions of FIFA players during key parts of the game really differ when participants lose or win, and when they belong to different age groups. We can see it clearly, and the statistical data really confirm that as well. Coming to GSR, we also analyzed this data with Tuwe and Nova. Here we can see that statistically significant results we obtained only in this mixed analysis results and age groups. We didn't obtain it in group, neither in result. So it's kind of different, but on this mixed, the most important for us level, it's okay. When we see, this is quite interesting, when we take a look on the amplitude, differences in amplitude for goal and goal celebration, we can see that in general, loss is more arousing. Not win, but loss. So we've got bigger amplitude for loser team during the goal and the goal celebrations. In terms of goal, we can see that on the level of the age groups, that teenagers differ the most. Yeah? They have the lowest level of arousal during the goal, and the really high level during the goal celebration. Students and adults are quite distant because they got similar level of arousal during these two events. Okay, so for GSR we can say that some of the null hypothesis retained, but main null hypothesis is rejected. Okay, you know them well, so I won't read it again. Coming to ECG.
Yeah, if we are talking about the ECG, we get the significant results in every our independent variable, also in the cross, as you can see. If we are going to see how the results present in the charts, we can see that when you are winning, your heart beats quicker, and when you are losing, slower. And if we are thinking about age groups, we see that teenagers' heart beats quicker, which is not surprising, yeah, because if you are the older you are, the slower your heart beats. So that's biological thing. So there is nothing to talk about. The same relation we've got during the goal celebration. We should remember there is some kind of sequence. Yeah, you score the goal, and then you got goal celebrations. So it's we can treat it as a big event. Yeah, but you know, not after every goal there is a goal celebration. For example, in the adults group, not so many times they decide to click the button and make goal celebrations. Yeah, like in the students, oh yeah, I will do it. Yeah, for my opponent.
Teenagers as well.
Teenagers as well, yeah. So, with the hypothesis in this ECG data, we've got to support, we confirm our hypothesis, we rejected all the null hypotheses. And the last data is eye tracking, and again, here we've got different currency, we've got area of interest that we are interested in. So again, I reminisce you how it looks like and what kind of data we've got. So there is no significant data mostly for eye tracking for us. What we can say is that we were using two metrics. There was a dwell time about the ball field, defense, attack, and minimapper. And the second metric was the number of fixation counts. And only with the fixation count we get the significance result if we use the one-way ANOVA. So we resigned for our main hypothesis about the two factors that they are explaining the differences between the groups, and decided to make the one-way ANOVA and said that, okay, being in a group of the age can explain the differences with how the eyes working during the game. So we should have worked more about eye tracking data. Is a different currency, as I said before. As you can see, all the variants that we used were non-significant if we are talking about the eye tracking. If we are make a glance on the charts, if we are thinking about the dwell time, you can see that when you are losing, you are looking more on the ball field. And when you are winning, it's not a big difference, as you can see, not so big. You are looking a little bit more on attack and defense. So, probably you are trying to anticipate where to pass to make widen your perspective of the game. We assuming that professional players of FIFA, they will have different chart and the ball field wouldn't be so exposed in their results. We assume that they will have a greater percentage stake of the defense and attack field, and of course mini-mapper. If you play, you probably know that many people, they are not, when they start to play FIFA, they don't recognize and don't use the mini-mapper. But the professional players, in our experience, is that they use it very, very much, because FIFA now changed so much, and the way to omit some lines of the game to pass the long ball to the attacker is very often used a module type of technique to score the goal. For example, with one of the best players in attack. When we are talking about the average number of fixations, you can see that there is not so much differences when you are winning or you are losing. When you are losing, you simply fixate more on the defense field. Yeah, there is only part that changes in the chart. When we are talking about the age group, here we've got not so many differences again, and teenagers is our so-called outliners of our group, our sample. Yeah, they got almost 14% of attack field. It's a different for the students, for the adults. I guess that if we would compare the games adults with teenagers, for example, because you have to remember that we measure teenagers with the teenagers, adults with the adults, students with the students, maybe some interpretation we will find out and to deal with the data more precisely. So conclusions and discussions. The first of all, age and win and lose seems to differentiate players of the level of physiological reactions. The dynamics of the game is related to the group in some terms, as we said before. The second one, this raises the questions how to manage the knowledge from the gameplay into recommendation for players and of course for creators of the game. How to make better games. That there is that to change the big gap between amateur players and professional players. Yeah, that they will not feel that, oh, I cannot win at all. Yeah, how to manage the gameplay, the mechanism of the game, to make it more proper, in a more proper way. We are closer to answer the question, how does the level of emotions and engagement change depending on success, if we are thinking about the effectiveness of the game, and age group. I guess that we are on this path and we have to do our math with other results, other events also. The fourth one is it can be assumed that professionals will also react in a different way. That's our assumption for the next part of the research. Effectiveness in the game determines physiological reactions. So the question is, what is the first? Effectiveness or physiological predisposition? Because if we can imagine on what kind of mindset I should have to be more effective in a game. What is first? My reaction on the events that occurs during the game, or maybe I'm so good that I can establish some kind of the mindset, my physiological reaction. Of course we cannot control everything, but we can probably propose or try to establish some kind of state of the mind, state of the body that makes me more effective during the game. You know that sportsmen want to precisely set up the mindset that can help them to achieve the best results. The same things, the same factors maybe can we see, can we observe, can we train during the e-sport games. And the last one, we can see how important the specific mindset may be. Yeah, this mental preparation, I guess that is a future question for us when we are going to deal with the data from esports. We've got many players that they are interested in to participate in our experiment, and we hope that in the next conference or 2 years later we can present this full comparison.
Yeah. And of course, as interesting as data it also poses or set up some questions. We think about, of course, these professional players. How do they differ from amateurs? We're sure, we strongly believe they are. We also would like to think about the beginners, so the kids and teens, what and how attracts them to the game. They are a really difficult group to measure, really. For example, they aren't very stable in front of the camera, so it's a really big challenge, but on the other hand, they're a really important group because when you're a teenager, it's the moment when you start playing and when you start being so immersed in this game. So it would be interesting to set up on this moment and to analyze these moments. Maybe we should include in our research some supplementary declarative methods, giving us more knowledge on the players' motivations, their
interpretation
feeling,
of the
interpretation
results,
of the data, their feeling. And I think it would be worth noting, especially in case of professional players. And
how they prepare, how they changing something, how they know they will not play this day, this moment, on this pad, or when we are prepared and I can play,
And last but not least, maybe we should think about women as players. Because this percentage of women in all the group of players is really growing dynamically. So sooner or later we should also, I think, include them into our research. And we would also like to invite invite you to cooperate with us if you need some kind of excuse for playing FIFA, you can join us and you can make some research on it. A short, really quick overview on our lab. So that's all for now. Thank you very much for your attention.